After reluctantly accepting a last tour in Afghanistan in 2006, Ed Macy found himself on the most adrenaline-pumping mission of his 22-year stint, aboard one of the globe's deadliest aerial predators. Assigned to the cockpit of a cutting-edge WAH-64 Apache attack helicopter, Macy climbed aboard a chariot of destruction of such complexity and might that studies conducted by the United States Army determined only a select few human brains could process the simultaneous tasks required to operate this aircraft. Macy was in that elite circle. While providing air support for ground troops storming a major Taliban stronghold during Operation Herrick, the unthinkable happened. The troops Macy was guarding walked into a lethal ambush. Even unleashing the full might of the Apache's M230 chain gun, AGM-114 Hellfire missiles, and Hydra 70 rockets wasn't enough. One soldier, Lance Corporal Matthew Ford, was missing in action. The British ground forces were forced to retreat, defeated. The enemy assembled in hordes, and using RPGs, they fiercely tried to knock the Apache out of the sky. Macy, his team, and their $25 million war machine became Ford's last hope. They were about to embark on one of the most audacious rescue operations in modern military history. It was 2006, and the war in Afghanistan was raging wild. The British Armed Forces, however, had just clinched their grip on what was arguably the most powerful gunship ever to grace the battlefield, the Boeing WAH-64 Apache. This beast was a British twist on the American AH-64 Apache, packing a punch that would surely leave a deep mark on the war. The U.S. Army, the birthplace of the Apache, had been wielding this war machine with blistering efficacy since the Gulf War in the early 90s. Serving as both a ground attack spearhead and a battlefield force multiplier, the Apache had showcased itself as the apex predator of attack helicopters. From the scorching sands of Desert Storm to the tumultuous skies over the Balkans, over a decade of relentless combat proved its unmatched lethality and illuminated the avenues for its enhancement. The British variant, engineered by Westland Corporation, boasted significant refinements over its already stellar predecessor. With the introduction of beefier Rolls-Royce turbomecha RTM322 engines, replacing the General Electric T700-701D, and a new folding blade assembly tailor-made for naval operations, the British Apache was much more than an upgrade. However, acquiring the creme de la creme of air power was not without its trials. The top brass, eyeing the unmatched potential of the Apache, wanted these chariots in every squadron. But this cutting-edge warbird demanded operators with a rare blend of skill and technological savvy, a tall order given the limited roster of airmen qualified for the task. Among the ranks of weapons officers fit for the cockpit who weren't already deployed stood a lone figure, Ed Macy. With over 2 decades of experience in the attack helicopter domain, Macy had just submitted his retirement papers. Yet, faced with the dire need for seasoned weapons officers, the Army Air Corps pulled out all the stops. After intense negotiations, Macy agreed to one final tour, propelling him back into the blistering heat of Afghanistan's battlefields, where the greatest trial of his career awaited him. Major Christopher James stood at the helm of Macy's 656 Squadron, tasked with the monumental mission of molding these aviators into masters of the imposing new American Apache chopper. Not just a sharpshooter among the elite of the Corps, James was the pioneering British pilot to take control of this cutting-edge helicopter. If there was anyone who could teach them how to tame this bird, it was him. In the months that followed, Macy and his squadron mates braved an intensive training regimen to harness a piece of military hardware that he likened to, quote, playing on Xbox, a PlayStation, and a chess grandmaster all at once, while riding Disney World's biggest roller coaster for hours on end without a break. For Macy, a veteran with years of service, this was uncharted territory. The cost to bring each Apache aviator up to speed was a whopping 3 million British pounds, with just the custom-built helmet setting the taxpayer back 22,915 pounds. Learning to fly this mechanized behemoth took 6 months, mastering its combat systems another 6, and earning the combat-ready seal of approval demanded a final stretch of 6 months. Piloting an Apache meant juggling 4 tasks simultaneously with both hands and feet. Aviators trained their eyes to operate independently, with a high-tech monocle fixed over their right eye, displaying a constant data stream. A dozen cockpit instruments fed into this display, and with a simple button press, they could overlay additional visuals, like camera feeds from the Target Acquisition and Designation System, or TADS, or Pilot Night Vision Sensor, and targets identified by the longbow radar, all beneath the green hue of the instrument symbology. The innovative monocle design freed up the pilot's left eye to maintain a crucial connection with the outside world, sparing him the precious seconds usually lost in transitioning between instrument checks and environmental awareness. However, this breakthrough came at a cost. New aviators grappled with severe headaches as their left and right eyes vied for dominance. As their vision adapted over weeks and months, the onset of these headaches was gradually delayed. One pilot, capturing his experience on camera during a sortie, was astounded to find his eyes moving separately, remarking with a mix of awe and horror, quote, "My eyes whirled independently of each other throughout, like a man possessed." Serving as the gunner, Macy faced his own battle against sensory overload. Tasked with crucial duties such as target spotting, engaging enemy positions, and deftly managing the Apache's lethal arsenal, including the M230 chain gun, Hellfire missiles, and Hydra 70 rocket pods, he had to achieve flawless harmony with the advanced onboard systems and the pilot's maneuvers to assert dominance over the battlefield. With the Integrated Helmet and Display Sighting System, or IHADS, enabling pinpoint targeting with a simple glance, multifunction displays offering instant mission insights, and night vision capabilities piercing through the cloak of darkness, Macy honed his skills to navigate the complex network of sensors and surveillance, wielding the helicopter's power with unmatched precision. The pilot, co-pilot, and gunner were required to meld into a singular synchronized force, each move anticipated and each action unified. This cohesion was pivotal for operational efficiency and survival, turning the Apache into an extension of their collective will and a machine capable of unfathomable destruction. These capabilities were about to be put to the test. After mastering the intricate dance of operating an Apache helicopter, Macy ascended to become a top-tier gunner. His team was instrumental in offering crucial air support to ground troops, entrenched in the heart of Helmand, Afghanistan's most fiercely contested Taliban stronghold. For the British forces navigating this treacherous terrain, Fort Jugroom stood as the ultimate nemesis. This fortress, a labyrinth of adobe and concrete, potentially teeming with thousands of Taliban fighters, represented a critical target in Operation Herrick. The mission, to dismantle this bastion of Taliban power. The British soldiers executed their maneuvers with lethal precision, striking with overwhelming might under the protective wing of air support from teams like Macy's. In moments of peril, Macy and his crew would unleash a devastating clap of firepower, giving the ground troops a fighting chance to pull back without leaving a single soul behind. But on January 15, 2007, as dawn crept over the horizon, fate dealt a harsh hand. Moving through the early morning shadows, the British forces encountered a hornet's nest of enemy activity. As they engaged, Macy's team swooped in from above, their presence a beacon of hope from the skies. Yet, the advance was stymied. The enemy's resistance was unyielding. With the sunrise, the British soldiers found themselves starkly exposed, the full fury of the fortress unleashed upon them. The situation deteriorated rapidly, and casualties mounted under the relentless assault. In a bid to turn the tide, Macy deployed a relentless storm of M230 chain gun fire and Hydra rockets, a desperate attempt to carve a path for retreat. But the enemy's grip was too strong, and an organized withdrawal was swiftly executed, Macy's crew beating a hasty retreat back to base. It was during this flight back to safety that the gut-wrenching news came through. Amidst the chaos, a soldier named Matthew Ford was missing in action. Macy's crew swung their bird around without a second's hesitation, despite running dangerously low on fuel. Staff Sergeant Carl Bird yanked back on the cyclic, the Apache rearing up like a stallion, nearly standing on its tail. This maneuver arrested their blistering speed of 161 miles per hour to a dead halt, narrowly avoiding overshooting their target by a mile. As daylight laid bare the harsh realities of the battlefield, Taliban fighters, emboldened and desperate, clambered to the rooftops, RPGs in hand, ready to down the Apache. Macy, amidst this maelstrom, frantically scoured the fort's perimeter for any sign of the missing soldier, while Carl wove an intricate dance of evasion against the storm of enemy fire. Suddenly, Macy's eyes locked on a form near the fort's imposing walls. With urgency, he barked into the radio, quote, "We have a body. Drop us down to 2,000 feet, mate." Carl's hesitation was palpable, quote, "That puts us in RPG range of the fort, Ed." But Macy pressed on, insisting and asking for only 20 seconds. Carl, conceding, began the perilous descent, muttering, quote, "You'll have to make it 15, then I'm going to break right." As the Apache executed a harrowing 180-degree turn, Macy engaged the TAD system's zoom, magnifying the image fivefold. The details began to crystallize. Osprey body armor, an SA-80 rifle. With the clock ticking down, Carl warned, quote, 5 seconds left, Ed." Undeterred by the punishing G-forces, Macy zeroed in with the system's maximum zoom. There it was, the unmistakable mark of a British soldier, his uniform. They had found him. With confirmation in hand, British forces launched a blistering assault on the MIA's last known coordinates, desperate to reclaim Ford. But the Taliban, wary of British maneuvers, fiercely repelled the advance. The British were cornered, barely holding the line against the Taliban's relentless surge from a fortified tunnel near the fort. Unstoppable. In the thick of chaos, Macy and his team pushed the limits of ground support. The situation was critical. Fuel on the brink of depletion, Macy down to his last Hellfire missile. Macy's Apache became Ford's sole guardian, immobilized and stretched to its limits. Then, a glimmer of hope crackled through the radio. A friendly American A-10 Warthog and 2 Apaches tore through the skies toward them. Air cover was inbound, paving the way for the unimaginable. Carl's voice cut through the tension, fierce and immediate. Quote, "I want to rescue him with Royals on the wings, and I want to do it now. It's now or never." As Carl executed a sharp maneuver, Macy's doubt was met with Carl's steely resolve. Outside, the world was ablaze. The A-10 Warthog soared to 15,000 feet before diving, unleashing a torrent of 30mm depleted uranium shells in the turret entrance. The ground erupted, flames dancing like seismic waves. The tunnel was no more. It was the Apache's turn. The 3 Apaches dove into the inferno, Macy's heart racing, Wagner's Ride of the Valkyries echoing in his mind, a switch from anticipation to pure adrenaline. On the ground, Marines unleashed fury, yet remained pinned. With adrenaline coursing through him, Macy scanned the chaos through his visor, dread mounting. He couldn't spot the target. Everything was a whirlwind of gunfire and smoke. Diving into the maelstrom, the Apaches touched down in pitch darkness, enemy forces closing in. With disaster looming by the second, Macy waited for the dust to settle. Then, he surged forward into the blistering heat of battle. Pushing his body to its limits, he raced through the chaos, tasting blood, lungs ablaze, until he finally located Ford, unmoved from his last known position. Ford was lifeless, yet warm to the touch, a grim sign of recent departure. The situation escalated amid their urgent efforts to load Ford into the Apache. The Taliban closed in, unleashing a storm of gunfire. With only their pistols for defense, they fought desperately to lift the Apache into the air. Through the tumult, the Apache rose. Tragically, Ford was beyond saving. Despite Macy's heroic efforts and the medical team's desperate attempts back at base, Ford had succumbed to his injuries, 3 bullets, just before the rescue could reach him. This operation would be etched in history as one of the boldest endeavors in modern warfare, showcasing the Apache's unparalleled might as the world's most capable gunship. Macy would go on to retire and write the book Apache, inside the cockpit of the world's most deadly fighting machine, where he would explore in fascinating detail both his experiences aboard the Apache helicopter and the spectacular events of the Ford rescue operation.